Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It is lovely to see so many of you here tonight. I wasn't quite honestly sure how much of a crowd we were or were not going to have, given that it's a long weekend. So it's so nice to have so many of you here. Just a reminder this evening, if you have any type of device that's going to distract you from Shabbat in any way, we'll just stick with phones, but, pagers, Palm Pilots, anything else of decades gone by that might remind you of that, I would ask you please to turn them off or at the very least silence them. Give yourself and give all of us the gift of Shabbat, the gift of being able to be here and be present with one another, to welcome in Shabbat, this time where we get to reset for the week to come, where we get to reflect on the week that was and think about all of the things that we have to look forward to in this next week. And there certainly are a lot of them, this Shabbat, this weekend, this coming week. We are going to begin our service this evening on page 10 with the words of Hine Ma Tov. Hine Ma Tov u'manayim shevet continue welcoming in Shabbat together on page 12 with the words of Lechu Neranana.
Yeah.
We are going to continue now welcoming in Shabbat with our candle blessing, and it's my pleasure to invite up Ken Weinberg to light our Shabbat candles.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. We are going to continue welcoming in Shabbat together with the words of Lecha Dodi, which are on pages 20 and 21. We are going to be doing verses 1 and verse 9. At verse 9, I will ask you all to stand and face the entrance. You all get to decide what it means to have an entrance, because we certainly have many entrances to our room tonight. So you can stand and face an entrance as we welcome in Shabbat. Continue now, preparing ourselves, affirming that we are ready for Shabbat with the Baruch Hu, which is on page 28. Please rise. Please be seated. It's my pleasure on the eve of his bar mitzvah to invite up Daniel Weinberg to lead us in Ma'ariv Aravim. We are on page 30.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bidvaro Ma'ariv Aravim B'chokhma Poteach Sha'arim Uvit Vuna Mashaneh Itim Umachalif Et Hazmanim Sader Et HaKochavim B'mishmerotehem Barakia Kirtzono Borei Yom V'Laila Golel or mipnei she, v'choshe mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi laila, uma'avdir ein yom uvein laila. Adonai tzivaot shmo el chai v'kayom, tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our day. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
We turn to page 34 and we rise for the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Vahed. Please be seated and we'll continue chanting the Ve'ahavta together on page 36. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom vavecha Veshinantam levanecha vidibartam bam beshivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha vaderech uvshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha vehayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam Al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Lihiot lachem le'elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem. On the top of page 39, let's read together. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. And so we do so now on page 40 with the words of Mi Chamocha. At the top of page 43, let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukkot shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Continue now with Vishamru on page 44, this prayer that we sing every week that reminds us it is Shabbat. Not only is it Shabbat and we get to celebrate Shabbat, but we are the ones who keep Shabbat and we are the ones who guard Shabbat. It is on us to hold that responsibility and to fulfill that responsibility. So we continue now on page 40. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם, ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת שבת ויהי נפש, שבת שבת ויהי נפש, שבת שבת ויהי נפש. Pray as if everything depended on God. Act as if everything depended on you. We continue now with our congregational tefillah, beginning on page 46. Please rise. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai sefatai tiftach, ufi agi tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Mekonei HaKol, V'zocher Chaste Avot V'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Hozer Umoshia Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Metim atah Rav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayei Metim Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Givurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshuam, V'ne'eman atah lehachayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hametim, Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, Ukroshim b'chol yom yehalelucha salah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated. We continue on the bottom of page 57. Let's read together. You are with us in our prayers, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answers to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance, and let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'odcha levadcha b'yara na'avod. As it is Shabbat, we are going to continue with our prayer for peace, a prayer that I think sometimes, and I've had this conversation with colleagues, becomes rote because we just say it so much and because there's so much violence that happens in this world and so much that is going on from our microcosm of ourselves and our immediate families all the way out into the larger world. And so I would invite you tonight, as we're singing Shalom Rav, to pick one thing to focus on. What is one area where you seek out peace, where you can bring peace, where you can help to bring about peace? And so we continue now with those words, Shalom Rav, on page, page 60. Shalom Rav, al Yisrael amcha, tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav, al Yisrael amcha, tasim le'olam. Ki atahu melech hador, lechol hashalom. take a few moments now for our own personal prayers and reflections using either the words in the prayer books in front of us or the words of our hearts. One of my favorite poems in the entirety of the prayer book can be found in our Shabbat evening service on the bottom of page 53. This poem, written by Yehuda Halevi, famous poet, and he asks, "Where might I go to find you? Where might I go to find you, God?" Yana emsacha mekom chana Allah v'ne'elam v'hana lo emsacha kevod kamalei olam derashti kirvatcha bechol libi kiratiha utzeti likratcha bechoti metzati This evening, we are going to do things a little bit differently. You noticed that when you came in, I hope everybody took a text study sheet. And so tonight, we are still going to say Misha Berach, but instead of reading Torah, we are going to study Torah together. And we are going to engage in the mitzvah of studying text and studying Torah together. Before we do that, however, we will take a moment in our service to think about those in our families, our community members who are in need of healing. And this week we think of Kristen Nystro, Richard Vane, Arthur Lang, Heather Borzak, Dick McLean, Quincy Newman, Brooke Ann Godesman, Bridget Stern, Jim Berry, Jay Field, the Mix family, Len Schutzman, Alan Wolski, Joy Rosenthal, Irving Philip Miller, Toby Birkin Weber, Lisa Stack, Carol Kretnar, Cheryl Ball, John Eulenberg, Rhonda Rhodes, David Menikoff, Rusty Taylor, Rabbi Bruce Goldwasser, Rabbi Fred Wenger, Jean Maynard, Jacqueline Sullivan, Julie Melvin, Carol Nymark, Catherine Smith, Maurice Saladki, Sarah Warch, Vic Tussey, George Jacobs, Martin Kolber, Lola Woloch, and all who suffer whom we know not by name. Mi sheberach avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, ve'imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, hu yivarech v'yiraped kol cholei Yisrael, v'yishlach lahem bimhera refuah shlema, refuat hanefesh u'refuat haguf, v'nomar, Amen. May God, who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal all who are stricken. May the Holy One of Praise mercifully restore them to health and to vigor. May God grant them health of body, health of spirit, health of mind, and let us say, Amen. We continue now with our prayer for healing, Misha Berach, on page 253. I'm going to invite everybody to take out your text study, and if you don't have one, Adam and Ellie are in the back of the room and happy to hand one out to you. So this week we find ourselves in the book of Deuteronomy. We're heading towards the end. We are almost there. We're almost finished, and we're almost about to start anew, and we are now in the Parsha of Shoftim, of Judges. And we have an opportunity tomorrow for those of you who would like to hear Torah being read, as we call Daniel to the Torah as a bar mitzvah, where we will hear this Torah portion read aloud. And so we're going to study a part of that Torah portion, in fact, that Daniel is going to read tomorrow. And don't worry, I'm not going to make you read it now, I promise, okay? But we're going to study it, and if you look at the top, where it says Deuteronomy 16, 18 to 20, these first 3 verses of the Torah portion. It says, "You shall appoint magistrates and officials for your tribes in all the settlements that your God Adonai is giving you, and they shall govern the people with due justice. You shall not judge unfairly. You shall show no partiality. You shall not take bribes, for bribes blind the eyes of the discerning and upset the plea of the just. Justice, justice shall you pursue, that you may thrive and occupy the land that your God Adonai is giving you." So what is this Torah portion? What are these 3 verses? There's a lot in there, right? What is it telling us? Anybody have a guess? I know a lot of you are Torah study regulars, right? What are we talking about here? Shout out one word. Anybody? Justice. Thank you. This is all about justice. And in this case, it's about justice, about leadership. It's about the judges that we appoint, right? It's about how, when cases are tried or brought to the court system, how they're litigated, and are they adjudicated fairly and justly, right? And then we have this really interesting phrase, probably one of the most well-known, and I would hazard to guess most quoted in Reform Judaism, which is tzedek, tzedek tirdof. Justice, justice shall you pursue. Show of hands, who's just heard those words before? All right, a good number of you have heard those words before, right? So, right, we're told to seek justice, but what is so unique about this particular line is that it's very rare that a word is repeated in the Torah, right? Usually when God says something, God's like, you should know what I mean. I don't need to emphasize anything. But here, it's not just tzedek tirdof, it's tzedek tirdof. And that emphasis is really important. And the rabbis and the scholars have a lot to say about that emphasis. They have a lot of thoughts. I have only included a few of them because when I started building this text study, you would probably believe me when I told you it was 10 pages, and I decided that was too long for tonight. So if anybody wants all of those resources, I'm happy to share them with you afterwards at Oneg. But just a few of them, right? So Ibn Ezra, who's a medieval commentator, he says this is addressed to each of the litigants. The repetition of justice implies that they should pursue a fair verdict. That makes sense, given that we're talking about a court system. Whether it brings them profit or loss. Or perhaps it means that they should continue to pursue justice time after time as long as they live, or it may simply be for emphasis. So here you have a scholar who's saying, actually, I'm not really sure what it means. So I'm going to throw out all these ideas, and I'm going to let you all decide which idea it is that you believe, or which reason it is that you think it's there, right? Which tells us something really important, or teaches us something really important, which is that we also, it's okay to not always know what something means, or to take a guess or stab at what something means. And it's okay to throw out a lot of ideas and have a conversation about it, right? When Ibn Ezra was writing this, he was writing it to be in conversation with other people and to say, I want to know, what are you thinking? This is what I'm thinking. Is this what you're thinking? Is this how you're reading it also? And so it gives us a lot of insight, not only into what he thought that verse meant, but in terms of how he interacted with other scholars and how the scholars of the time studied and learned together. And so this next quote that I included is from the Talmud, and it's an interesting one because you sort of have to be willing to take a step back and look at this in a little bit of a different way, right? Because this tells a story. It says, as it is taught, justice, justice shall you pursue, for one strict judgment and one for compromise. Okay, so that tells us, right, there are two forms of justice. We have the strict judgment that comes down, and then how we compromise. And so they now are elaborating on how do we compromise. And they ask the rabbis, how so? Like two boats that encounter each other while traveling the river, right? You can imagine two boats in a narrow river coming towards each other, and the captains, put this in modern time, are talking on the radio saying, well, I'm going to go, no, I'm going to go, right? And they're going to get in this argument about who's going to go, right? And the rabbis say, if each goes to pass the other simultaneously, both will sink, right? The river's too narrow, they'll hit each other. If they go one after the other, both of them may pass. And similarly, when two camels encounter one another while ascending Beit Haron, right? How many of you have encountered camels while hiking somewhere? Not so many of us. Maybe a donkey or something, or a goat perhaps on the side of a road. But here we have camels. If they both go to ascend simultaneously, both of them will fall. Same reasoning as the boat. If they go one after the other, both of them may ascend. How? If one of them is laden with cargo and the other is not laden, the one that is unladen should defer to the one that is laden with cargo. If one is close to its destination and the other is far from its destination, The one that is close should defer to the one that is far from its destination. If both of them were close to their destinations or both of them were far away, they must compromise, and one must compensate the other. Right? So here they are, the rabbis are saying it's not just about strict judgment, but it's about, when we say pursuing justice, right? We have to pursue this idea of compromise and this idea of working together and being together in partnership. And sometimes that's two camel riders saying, well, I have more cargo than you, so I get to go first, right? And sometimes it's about talking and just thinking about what makes sense. But this is another way to think about it, right? So we have these ideas of pursuing a fair verdict, of pursuing justice time after time, that it's just emphasized, and now here's this idea of compromise. So clearly the rabbis don't actually agree on what this means. They just want to throw out all the ideas to say, well, we're going to let you decide for yourself what it is that you think, right? So as we get later and later throughout the centuries, we have more rabbis who share with us more information and more ideas, really. So we have Hida, who's a rabbi from the 18th century. He lived in Palestine, in Western Europe, and North Africa, and he says about this phrase, the great Musar rabbis, these are the rabbis that taught ethics of Judaism and values. The rabbis say that if one hastens to give tzedakah, it is worth double, as if one gave tzedakah twice. Tzedek, tzedek. It will be considered as two tzedakahs if you pursue it, if you try to give it as soon as possible. So here's yet another idea, that we should pursue not only justice, but we should do it as quickly as possible, right? Because it's as if we're giving double tzedakah. It's just as much we're giving of ourselves and not just our money or our resources also, which are important forms, of course, of tzedakah. Right, so the rabbis continue on and they have these conversations, and I'll let you all read the other ones that are in here. But I want to jump to the statement of principles of Reform Judaism. This is our Reform platform, what Reform Judaism says about this idea. Because I think it's important for us to know, what does our movement say about this? What does our movement tell us about this? And this 1999, I know, seems old, and also this is the last time that the platform was rewritten. It's been rewritten over the centuries. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next decade or two it's rewritten again, but right now we're sticking with the 99 one. And it says, we bring Torah into the world when we strive to fulfill the highest ethical mandates in our relationships with others and with all of God's creatures. Partners with God in Tikkun Olam, repairing the world, we are called to help bring nearer the Messianic age. We seek dialogue and joint action with people of other faiths in the hope that together we can bring peace, freedom, and justice to our world. We are obligated to pursue tzedek, justice, and righteousness, and to narrow the gap between the affluent and the poor, to act against discrimination and oppression, to pursue peace, to welcome the stranger, to protect the earth's biodiversity and natural resources, and to redeem those in physical, economic, and spiritual bondage. In doing so, we reaffirm social action and social justice as a central prophetic focus of traditional Reform Jewish belief and practice. We affirm the mitzvah of tzedakah, setting aside portions of our earnings and our time to provide those in need. These acts bring us closer to fulfilling the prophetic call to translate the words of the Torah into the works of our hands. In all these ways and more, Torah gives meaning and purpose to our lives. So here we have the Reform movement telling us, right, that we affirm this mitzvah, this act of tzedakah, this way in which we help to give back, and as a part of that also to pursue tzedek, to pursue justice, and to do that in our own way, in our own lives, in the ways that we see fit, right? And each of us can find different ways to do that in our own lives, in our own worlds. We start to teach this to kids as young as, well, here we have pre-K, even younger than that, sometimes if you come for PJ Havdalah, but right, we start to teach this in our religious school as young as 4 and 5 years old, the importance of giving back and the importance of the ways that we help our community members and the ways that we act against discrimination and the ways that we support those who don't have as much as we do. And so we do that, and I found actually this interesting idea that somebody named Andrew Mandel came up with, and he shares this idea of a tzedek box. So many of you probably are familiar with the idea of a tzedakah box, right? A box where we collect maybe coins or dollars, and every so often we take it out and we choose where we're going to give that tzedakah to. So his idea is actually a tzedek box. And what he suggests is that instead of coins, that every time we confront an injustice in some way in our lives, that we take a slip of paper and we note it down and we write it down and we reflect on it. And we put it in that box as sort of a way of keeping track of what we've done and the ways that we think about it. And he suggests that you do this for a year, and then annually you open the box and you take out those slips of tzedek and you read them and you reflect on them, or what are the injustices that you've confronted over the last year, and to be able to think about what are the injustices that you'd like to confront in the year to come. And I thought this was particularly apt given that Rosh Hashanah is just around the corner. Rabbis don't like to be reminded of that, but it's true. And this would be a really appropriate time to think about doing something like that. We have a new year coming. So what are the ways in the new years that you would like to confront injustice? What are the ways that you want to contribute to the world? What are the ways that you want to pursue justice and to act on this call to tzedek, tzedek tirdof, that justice, justice we shall pursue? And so I hope that you all will keep this in mind, especially in these last few weeks of Elul, about the ways that you, each of us, truly can pursue justice throughout our lives. So with that, we're going to switch gears, because part of pursuing justice is also pursuing mitzvot, right? You heard about the talk about the mitzvah of tzedakah, and we have so many different mitzvot and so many different ways that we get to celebrate those mitzvot. And one of the mitzvot and one of the celebrations that we get to do is to celebrate with the Eno family tonight, because Charlie on Sunday, right, will have his upsharon. And an upsharon, for those of you who are not familiar, is the ritual wherein it's the first haircut for a child. And in Judaism, there's teachings about that in the first 3 years of life, we think about a child and all that they absorb, the surrounding sights and sounds and the love of their family and friends. And the child really is receiving all of that. They're not really ready to give much because they're growing, they're developing. For any of you who have ever had children or been around children for a long period of time, you know even day to day they change and grow and develop. And at the age of 3 or thereabouts, right, children's education sort of takes this leap. Right? We often see that children around 3 or 4 may begin preschool before they go to kindergarten, before they go to school. They're now ready not only to receive and to take, but also to give back. And so we have this moment of transition, an embrace of Jewish learning, of connection to our Jewish covenant, and we embrace that through the cutting of hair and through the giving of tzedakah. And so we think, I'm going to invite up, actually, Charlie and Sarah and Benjamin to come on up here with us. I know it's scary in front of all these people, right? But it's okay. This is an exciting thing that we're doing, right? Because we get to celebrate you. Hi. How's it going? Good? Right? So Charlie, we hope for you that you are raised with a sense of obligation to do justice in the world. We hope that as you take part in this ritual celebration this weekend, that you'll begin to learn and begin to grow with all the traditions that we have and the ways that we get to share with you, the values that your family teaches us. I know, it's a lot all at once, right? And you're gonna have all these important lessons, and we really, really hope that you get to learn all of these and that you get to take advantage of them over time. And we can't wait to continue welcoming you and helping you to do that. So wait, before you get down, Mom and Dad are gonna say something to you, okay? You wanna say hi?
Say hi.
Say hi.
I'll do it.
You wanna do it? Okay,
Yeah.
you gotta hold it to Mom and Dad. Good job.
I'll do it.
Oh, okay. May you live to see your world fulfilled. May your destiny be for the worlds to come. May you trust in generations past and yet to be. May you live to see your world fulfilled. May your eyes shine with the light of the holy words, and your face reflect the brightness of the heavens. May your lips ever speak wisdom, your fulfillment be in justice. Even as you ever yearn to listen to the words of the holy ancient one of the old, may you live to see your world fulfilled. May your destiny be for the world still to come. May your trust in generations past and yet to be. May you live to see your world fulfilled. May your heart be filled with intuition. May your words be filled with insight. May your song of praise be upon your tongue, vision straight before you, even as you ever yearn to listen to the words of the holy ancient one of old. May you live to see your world fulfilled.
Amen. And so,
What?
can you say amen? Say amen. Okay. I am going to invite Sarah and Benjamin and Charlie up to the ark at this time to offer the priestly blessings, and I will ask everybody to please rise. You're going to help me open the ark, okay? You're going to help me open it? You ready? Pull real hard. Use all your muscles. Good job. Good job. Can I put my hand on your head? Can I go like this? Is that okay? No? Okay. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha, Yisa Adonai panav elecha, v'yasem lecha shalom. Charlie, as you transition to this next point in your life, being a little kid, which is really cool, may God bless you and keep you. In just a second, may God's presence shine on you always and be gracious unto you. May you always see God's light, and may wherever you go in the world, whatever you do, may you always know God's greatest gift, the gift of shalom, of peace. And together we say, Amen. Good job. Now you can get down. Good job. Thank you. You can be seated. After services, we can put your plate there. Thank you. At this time, it's my pleasure to invite up Jackie Fain and Kyle Klein to lead us in our prayer for the country and prayer for Israel on page 258 and 259.
O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit. Amen.
O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it a canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all. Lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fulfillment of joy for all who dwell there. Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for celebrating Shabbat with us tonight. I'm Ricardo Martinez. I'm representing the Board of Directors, and I'm honored to share short announcements with you this evening. Thank you to our usher, Adam Rubacek, and our greeter, Rachel Wood. Thank you to Rabbi Wayner for the beautiful music and for leading the service. Thank you to the security team for providing security this evening. Mazel tov to Daniel Weinberg and the Weinberg family on Daniel becoming a bar mitzvah. And mazel tov to Charlie Eno and the Eno family on Charlie's upsharing. Registration for Slichotapalooza, our multi-generational, prospective, and current member festival is now open. Bring your friends and join us on Saturday, September 17th. We have free food trucks, wine and scotch tasting, wagon rides, a bouncy house, a bubble making presentation, and babysitting, followed by a candlelight slichot service with the first shofar blast of the season. There will be no Torah study this week, because we just kind of did it. For more details on this and other upcoming events, check out our weekly happenings email. Please join us after services for a wonderful oneg in the social hall, co-sponsored by the Weinberg and Eno families. Shabbat Shalom.
And as we begin to conclude our service this evening, it's my pleasure to invite up Pearson and Annabelle Eno to help us open the ark as we turn to page 282 for Aleinu. Please rise. Please be seated. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yihyeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season and in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. This week on Shabbat, we remember Marilyn Cohen, mother of Barbara Fidlow, Cynthia Marmer, stepmother of Julie Kalwat, Catherine M. Notaris, mother of Mark Notaris, Todd Techteil, brother-in-law of Alan Herbach, son-in-law of Florence Herbach, Norman Tatiner, husband of Joy Tatiner, father of Stephen and Gary Tatiner, Seal Goldman, grandmother of Julie Mandrew, Anna Mae Levine, mother of Joseph Levine, Marjorie S. McGrath, mother of Margaret McGrath, Harold Davis, grandfather of Jason Davis, Mary Friedland, mother of Gerald Friedland, Nathan Krasnow, father of Eugene Krasnow, Dorothy Marion, mother of Michael Marion, Emil Ross, grandfather of Carol Nymark, Daniel Schoenberg, husband of Susan Schoenberg, father of Max Schoenberg, and grandfather of Stanley and Calvin Schoenberg, Howard Zuckerman, father of Steve Zuckerman, Irene Farr, mother of Gail Farr, Fritz Feist, cousin of Ellen Mandel, David Finkel, father of Stephen Finkel, Sherwood Gerard, father of David Gerard, Dorothy Johnson, mother of Richard Johnson, Don Herbach, husband of Florence Herbach and father of Alan Herbach, Kathleen Solon, mother of Ellie Farkas, Elliot Zeidel, father of Jeff Zeidel, Renee Lampert, grandmother of Amanda Littauer, Kat Pride, daughter of Eileen Landau, Semilia Sarku, mother of Moni Sarku, and we mourn the recent passing of Lionel Richard Hoffman, father of Cynthia Swanson, Rabbi Edward Feldheim, father of Deborah Cairo, and grandfather of Alex, Josh, and Brandon Cairo, Burton Lichterman, father of Marla Friedman, Ashley Jill Gardner Sloan, cousin of Ann Stewart, and Estelle P. Finnick, mother of Robin Summers and grandmother of Lauren and Billy Summers. We join together as one community now as we recite the Mourner's Kaddish on page 294. Please rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yurtei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mivarach le'olam u'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yit hadar, v'yit aleh, v'yit halal, shmei dekudesha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, amen. You can be seated. We are going to conclude our service in the same way that we started our service, the words of Hine Matov. They are on page 10 if you would like to follow along. Matov u'manayim sheverachim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim sheverachim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim sheverachim. Together, if I can find it, in Kiddush, which is on page 5, if you would like to follow along. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit Ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen. And we will preemptively say l'chaim as we have grape juice and wine in the next room, and we join together in Motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon. May this Shabbat be a Shabbat where we can truly say how good it is to be together today. Shabbat Shalom.